Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Here's a headline from you today. 110 million XRP transferred by Ripple, and top Asian crypto platforms are talking about cryptocurrency exchanges. And so, despite the price action we've been seeing over the last couple months, because there was a pullback and now we're consolidating perhaps on a precipice of moving higher, despite all of this, XRP continues to be one of the most liquid cryptocurrencies on the entire planet, traded 24/7, 365, used every single day in enterprise-grade software, developers building all sorts of use cases on top of the XRP ledger. It's functionally useful, there's a finite amount of it, and that actually matters, especially when you're seeing crazy spending by governments the world over, specifically where I live. I live in the Midwest in the United States. I'm not exactly thrilled with the way the fiscal. Let's just say this: I'm not thrilled with the fiscal policy of the government where I live. I'm not thrilled about it. Printing the dollar into oblivion and then just endless spending on top of it. It's absurd, and it can't go on forever. And so what are we actually seeing here? Well, thankfully, we're seeing real-world adoption of cryptocurrencies, including XRP, with, again, XRP. It's one of the oldest cryptocurrencies on the entire planet. Right? I mean, what was first? Bitcoin, and then I believe Litecoin was second. I believe this is correct. You can fact-check me, but I think it was second. But it was basically mostly a copy of Bitcoin, right? But then you have XRP, which I believe is the third cryptocurrency. Happy to be corrected if that's not true, but I think it's true. And it was just a completely different design. And it's been around almost since the inception of crypto here. And there's a reason that it's being adopted by actual businesses in 2021. You can have business models that can't exist without it. And the fact that it is adopted, because standards do matter, it makes it useful, because the adoption is the reason that there is sufficient liquidity to use it for stuff. So standards do matter in life. They absolutely do, which is a big reason that Bitcoin, being let's just say the least technologically advanced cryptocurrency, there's a reason it's still here. It is the standard for crypto right now. Whether you like it or don't like it, it's number one in market cap. To this point, the market has spoken. And it doesn't mean that it can't be supplanted by another crypto in the future. I'm not saying that. But right now, it's pretty damn clear that this is what people value. And people are using crypto as a store of value. People use gold as a store of value. People use stocks as a store of value, frankly. I mean, stocks, people, if you don't typically think about it like this, those are scarce assets also. The stocks are. So anyway, before I go any further, I want to be clear. I don't have a financial background of any kind. I'm not offering financial advice. And you definitely shouldn't buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just your everyday Joe Schmo. I like talking about crypto and XRP specifically, but that's all that's going on here. Damn it, it's just a fun little hobby. And so shout out to BondCrypt XRP for sending this story my way about XRP, 110 million flowing. And so my friends, it's not going away. There is no indication that it's going away, which is why XRP, and look, mind you, I hold a couple dozen different cryptocurrencies. I'm most confident in XRP because, I don't know when utility will matter more, and I don't know how quickly that shift is going to occur, but I sleep easy knowing that XRP has utility, and as long as it has utility, I'll continue to sleep easy, even despite pullbacks, because when pullbacks happen, even if you think that we're finally at the reckoning where all of the other cryptocurrencies that don't do anything go to zero, even if that's upon us at some point in the future, well, XRP's being used, though. If people value something, it doesn't just go away, so I'm not going to mind that. And then as far as this idea of crypto as a hedge against inflation and tumultuous times, can we talk about that for a minute? I haven't talked about that in a hot minute. Take a look at this tweet from Anthony Pompliano. Now, he's a Bitcoin maximalist, but I agree with him on a whole bunch of stuff, including the financial problems that are very evident the world over, including in the United States. The monetary policy of the United States is not exactly ideal, printing the dollar into oblivion and just spending absolutely insanely. You would never treat your own household with this level of financial irresponsibility, but the government just doesn't care. And so here's his tweet. The government chooses to simply raise the debt ceiling periodically, rather than making the hard decisions needed to run a balanced budget and pay off debt. Our debt to GDP ratio continues to head in the wrong direction. And it's just ridiculous. So, consider this. The debt to GDP ratio, it's important because it compares what a country owes with what it produces. Okay, the debt to GDP ratio indicates a country's ability to pay back its debts. So imagine if you continue to run up large personal debt with credit cards. And nothing against anybody that has debt out there. I understand the hard times. I understand that can happen, and then you use it. But I have to say that with no disrespect intended to anybody out there that's in that situation. I still prefer the Dave Ramsey tough love approach of if you can't afford it, don't buy it. Period. And if that's tough and it's difficult, there's got to be another way forward. And actually, I think most of the time there is. It's just credit cards are used as a crutch by many people. And I'm not trying to insult anybody. It's human nature. But if the crutch weren't there, then you wouldn't keep digging a hole for yourself. And so, like, the government's doing the same thing, but with at least to this point, no serious accountability. But imagine if you continue to run up large personal debt with credit cards. Like, would the credit card companies let you spend yourself into oblivion, not worried about how much money you personally owe them? Of course not. That would be extremely risky and irresponsible of them. And at some point, you'd be cut off. Even if that means you can't buy anything because your balances are too high and you've hit your credit limit. At some point, you're not going to be able to use them. And they send you signs by increasing your interest rate, especially if you can't make payments, and reducing your credit limit. And like things like this happen because they see you as a higher risk. And so like humans, like you can't behave this way without serious consequence. But to this point anyway, the government still has, right? It's pretty damn clear to see that. And so, right now, the U.S. it's capable of servicing its debt, but that doesn't mean this won't be a massive problem one day, just because it's servicing the debt right now. This is another reason that many believe cryptocurrency is a good hedge against potential economic chaos. So it's a good thing that crypto as an asset class continues to approach general acceptance. And as far as what's driving crypto adoption right now, I typically don't buy into narratives. I mean, there can be truth that, okay, something big happened in the news, it clearly affected price. I totally acknowledge that. But in a general sense, what I see in crypto, and I think this is true of the stock market as well, is price action occurs because it's just a bunch of emotional buying and selling people betting against each other, and then you get runs up or down. That happens, and then the news of the day is then applied as the rationale for why that occurred, when really it's just a bunch of emotional humans. So even if it's not the case that we're seeing massive adoption for this specific reason, it doesn't mean that crypto isn't useful for that specific reason. Purchasing crypto as a hedge against tumultuous times, and the dollar just getting printed into oblivion and crazy spending and so like over the last several years in particular, like you think pre-pandemic, at least in the United States, I'll tell you what, in terms of dollars, record dollars coming in to the Treasury of the United States, record dollars. But what about the deficit? Still, the deficit was what it was, and spending was just completely out of control. So what you find here is it's not that there is a revenue problem, it's that there's a spending problem. And this is very clear. And you can't treat your own household like this, but the government continues to do this. So thankfully, there's other places where we can put our money. And thankfully, cryptocurrencies like XRP are sufficiently decentralized so they can't be controlled. It's worth whatever open markets say that it's worth. Whereas if you're just holding the dollar, it continues to get printed into oblivion and endlessly debased. Not so fun. I don't enjoy that. And so, and this is the chart here. Let me make it full screen. This is what Pomp shared, and there you go. It's a solid point. I think that this is a lot of this is a reason anyway that many in crypto, including myself, find crypto appealing. I'm not saying it's the only reason, or necessarily for me the most important reason, but it is an important reason. It's worth being aware of this. I do find crypto extra appealing with this type of behavior, because at some point you've got to wonder, with everyone that all the entities that are owed this money, which, by the way, a lot of it the government owes itself. That's a whole topic for a different story. They're actually, I think most of it. I'd have to pull up the data. But you can't, because you get it from other sectors of the economy, if you're wondering. That's in a nutshell why. But even though that's the case, like, you can't do this in perpetuity. At some point, there's a breaking point, just like you would have in your personal finance if you just irresponsibly spend endlessly. At some point, the answer is no, you can't do it. You're not going to be trusted by the creditors. And so when that day of reckoning comes, if you're the government, what do you think happens? And so I'm not saying that we're near that now. the government is capable of servicing the debt. I'm saying that this direction is terribly irresponsible and that the government should spend within its means. And that should not be some sort of like wacky position to hold. It definitely should not be. Now, thankfully, again, we do continue to see adoption, though. Take a look at this story from the Daily Hodl. Bitcoin ownership by younger U.S. investors surges, could be approaching general acceptance, says Gallup report. A new study by the Washington, D.C.-based analytics company Gallup reveals that Bitcoin is rapidly becoming a mainstream choice for young investors. The research is drawn from the second quarter Gallup Investor Optimism Index survey, which was conducted in June. According to the data, Bitcoin ownership has taken off in the U.S. in the past 3 years, especially among investors under 50. The researchers believe that Bitcoin is gradually approaching general acceptance among U.S. investors as more and more people gain exposure to the asset class. So overall, Bitcoin ownership among U.S. investors who are defined as adults having more than $10,000 in traditional investment vehicles, such as stocks or bonds, shot up from 2% in 2018 to 6% in 2021. So hey, heading in the right direction. But check this out. It's even more noticeable for other age groups. For investors over 50, ownership remained relatively low, up to 3% from just 1% in 2018. However, during the same period, ownership among younger investors between the ages of 18 to 49 jumped a staggering 10 percentage points to 13%. And so I guess to me, it's not that surprising that you're seeing greater adoption in general among younger people, but that's also a reason that it's fascinating to me that most of the people that watch my YouTube channel, I've mentioned this just a few times over the years, most of the people that watch my channel are actually my age or older, and I'm 38 years old right now. And so most about my age, even if they're a couple years younger, about my age or older. And it's just been interesting to me that XRP, for whatever reason, has attracted the adults. And I find that appealing. Hopefully there's wisdom in what we're all doing, right? And there, of course, there are people younger, too, even in their 20s. And so, hey, the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. But it's interesting to see that, in general, younger people are adopting this at a greater pace. Yet there are more older people, including myself here, if I'm considered old yet. I mean, I'm not quite 40. I'm old when I'm 40, right? Is that how it works? I'll tell you what, any age, even when I remember even being like 21 and thinking, wow, that sounds like a high number to me now, because it used to sound like a high number back when I was like 12, right? But I will tell you, as you continue to age, and I'm sure people my age or older will attest to this, you still are the same person. Like, you don't feel like, whatever the number is, you don't feel like that. You still feel like the same human, because by and large you are the same person, maybe a little bit wiser, but you still got the same personality and this and that. But anyway, it is, again, it's just, the reason I brought that all up is I just find it fascinating. There's got to be something to this, like, with all of us people, if I can call this older people, with all of our wisdom, like, there's got to be a reason that XRP is more appealing to this particular crowd. And so for me, I can speak for myself. When I found out about it in late 2017, what was appealing to me, because I wasn't here for the crazy, down with banks, down with government stuff. I've never bought into that narrative. I don't like that, actually. I found it appealing because it's functionally useful. So it wasn't for ideological reasons. I'm just a logic and data guy, and is like, oh, here is some data that indicates this is functionally useful, at least in this point in time. We'll see how adoption continues to unfold. But yes, right now it's very useful. And so that's the position that I was always come from anyway. But man, either way, however this unfolds, the general, regardless of what age bucket you're in, adoption is increasing. And so you will hit this inflection point where you're the outlier if you're not in crypto. What, you don't believe crypto's here to stay? You're the wacky person. Whereas for most of the last 12 years, it's been the opposite. It's been, you're in crypto, what's that weird, crazy magic internet money? That's insane. But even now, financial advisors, it is becoming mainstream. Even had, like I reported just the other day, JP Morgan offering to your typical retail investor the opportunity to get into Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So JP Morgan, yeah, they're a middleman, but still they have a huge client base, and you can get into exposure to the crypto asset class that way. And so to me, this is all a positive. Clearly, crypto is not going away. It's in a general sense a force for good. Anybody can be nefarious and use any good technology for bad purposes, but crypto in general is a force for good. Because it puts you in control, if you want to be, of your own crypto assets. You have that opportunity. And other than like paper cash, I mean, it's still like, maybe you could say you're in control of that, but not the monetary policy behind it, which is why decentralized systems with that have native assets to the blockchain that are scarce, highly attractive. And XRP perfectly fits the bill. And I think utility will increasingly matter as time passes, which is a huge part of the reason that I'm here. So I couldn't be more excited to have stumbled upon this in the way that I did in November of 2017 when I jumped into crypto and bought I bought Ethereum and then Litecoin and then Bitcoin. I believe it was in that order. And that, because that's what was available on Coinbase at the time, that was it. And then a week later, I bought my first coin that wasn't on Coinbase, and it was XRP. And I've been holding XRP ever since, and I've never sold a single XRP, but I fully intend to before this market cycle is over. I think it's a great opportunity personally. But that's not financial advice. To be clear, I do not have a financial background, right? And so you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.